Yeah. When music sounded so good like this, fabulous. Time to show, it's your time. You're nominated as the greatest, and you're flowing and blow minds. Radio done rated, somehow dated. The friends you know, you won't.
Good day and welcome to the Washington Report. I'm Congresswoman Stacey Plaskett, and I'm blessed to serve as the Virgin Islands delegate to the U.S. House of Representatives. The Washington Report was created to inform Virgin Islanders on current federal issues that directly affect our community. The show's guests range from political leaders to community activists. This show is all about getting information for you, to you. Therefore, I encourage you to email your questions, ideas, thoughts to askstacey@mail.house.gov to have them answered on future shows. Now, I'd like to introduce my guest today, Adrian Todman, who is the 12th Deputy Secretary of the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Deputy Secretary Todman has dedicated her career to improving people's lives and strengthening communities through housing. Deputy Secretary Todman served as the CEO of the National Association of Housing and Redevelopment Officials from 2017 to June of 2021. During her tenure, Secretary Todman improved the association's financial standing and business operations, created a member-centric culture, and advocated for funding and policies to preserve and develop affordable housing and help communities thrive. Now, before joining NAHRO, Deputy Secretary Todman served as the Executive Director of the District of Columbia Housing Authority from 2009 to 2017. There, Ms. Todman implemented a national award-winning model to house veterans experiencing homelessness, increased home ownership opportunities by 50% for low and moderate income families served by DCHA, increased the number of affordable housing units available in sub-market experiencing rapid growth, and oversaw 12 concurrent large redevelopment efforts. She prioritized youth empowerment programs, workforce development, and commissioned the first citywide needs assessment of public housing residents. Deputy Secretary Todman believes that we have a responsibility to confront housing insecurity and help ensure access to good homes, to eliminate all forms of housing discrimination, and to build our nation's housing infrastructure in a way that expands equitable access to housing for all people. As Deputy Secretary, Todman will work alongside Secretary Marcia Fudge to ensure that HUD has the staff and tools it needs to administer and provide oversight over programs critical to supporting families and to moving the country forward. Ms. Todman's career in public service began in the office of Congressman Ron DeLugo, a long-serving delegate representing the U.S. Virgin Islands, where Todman was born and raised. She's a graduate of Smith College, and she lives here in Washington, D.C. Welcome to the Washington Report, Deputy Secretary Todman. Welcome home.
Thank you.
This show is about Washington, D.C., but it's a little bit of the Virgin Islands.
There you go.
As well.
I feel welcomed already. Thank you.
Good, thank you. So, can you tell us about your background and your journey from growing up in the U.S. Virgin Islands to your current position as Deputy Secretary of Housing and Urban Development?
Wow, it was a wonderful journey. And it all started in, a wonderful place in St. Thomas. When we're growing up there, it always feels so small and we want to leave and do something bigger. And then we do and we realize what a wonderful and unique place, to have been born and raised. And that instilled in me, the ideals of hard work, education, and just doing the right thing.
Nice.
And I left there, and like many of us, left to go to college here in the States. And then
Smith
yes,
College, that's such a unique experience, right?
It was a
An
very unique
all-women's college.
Yes.
That is really about undergirding and bolstering women.
That's
Do you
right.
think that really helped?
You know, I like to say that I've had a triple threat experience. I'm a West Indian woman. I went to an all-women's college, you know, and I'm Aries, for what it's worth. And so, yeah, it did instill a certain sense of self based on just the nurturing environment that we're able to be educated there. And so it was a great part of my experience. I was really pleased to serve on the Smith Board of Trustees
Awesome.
up until recently with this position.
Oh, that's
I had to resign.
amazing.
And so it gave me,
Congratulations
it was wonderful. It was wonderful. So after Smith, I then had the great honor of securing an internship in Mr. DeLugo's office, which was a thrill. And then I was lucky to be hired and was there with him during his last term in office. And so I was there when we packed up the office and, you know,
Take down the plaque.
take down the plaques, take everything down, box it up, and say goodbye to I thought was a historic tenure.
Yes.
And I know you had some
Yes,
some
I
time
worked as an intern there as well.
That's right. You know, all good people intern at DeLuga, right? But that taught me a lot. You know, we were right here in the Rayburn building as well. So I got a sense of what doing good and doing well looked like when you had power, you know, to have those options. Left Congress and went to work at the U.S. Housing and Urban Development. My first tour there as a career servant. Had a great time, worked for some amazing secretaries, and went to D.C. Housing Authority and went to NARA, and here I am.
Awesome. So can you tell us more about your role as Deputy Secretary at the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development? Do you have a specific portfolio of issues that are yours or staff that is yours? How does that work?
Yeah, so, you know, the Deputy Secretary's role in the department is a very unique one. The Secretary and I share global responsibility over just the programs and policies and making sure that the President's agenda is carried out there in the department. The Deputy Secretary's role in HUD and across the federal government, we also have a focus on the operations side of HUD. So I spend a fair amount of my time making sure that the trains are running on time, stopping at each stop, you know, they're taking up passengers and, you know, leaving them off where they're supposed to. And that's been a thrill. I mean, HUD has had some operational issues in the past, and we have a great team now. And with the Secretary's confidence, we're really going to get those trains there stopping on time.
Well, I mean, HUD has such a tremendous mandate,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And you are everywhere in the country. You know, some agencies, Interior and others, may not be everywhere to the depth and focus that you all are.
Right.
And also because you are so focused on providing support to those that really need it, that's the fact that you are making the trains run on and doing the operational work is very, very, very important. I know that there had been a staffing shortage, individuals who had left in the last administration. How is that going, ramping up?
You know, I tell folks when I was at HUD in the late 90s, there was about over 11,000 employees. Today we have 7,400, just over 7,400, and our mandate and our scope has increased. And so in addition to a lot of the departures that we had over the past couple years, we also have a very tenured employee base. And so we're always in a shape of catching up. But I think the mission there is so rich, as you said, you know, affordable housing and community development is something that I think everybody cares a little bit about, even if they don't know it. And so, you know, part of my job and the Secretary's job is recruiting a whole new talent base to the department. So if you're out there and hearing my voice and you want to work at HUD, you know, go to USA Jobs and see what's out there. Let them know. We're all over the country, right? We're all over the country.
So you worked for a time as the executive director of DC Housing Authority. In DC, there's been a tremendous growth in housing, right? And some may say it's been predominantly or visibly in the high-end development area. And many urban areas throughout the country is facing this crisis of housing, where you're seeing gentrification and developers who are making money, right, by building these luxury condos. How do you at HUD and the Biden administration propose to incentivize developers, builders, to build a type of housing for those that need it, young professionals, the working middle class? So not only so that they'll stay in areas, right, but also so that they can have a shot at one of the ways that is best allows us to grow wealth, which is home ownership, right? Being able to own a home, use that home and the equity to pay for college, to start a business. How are you guys proposing to do that?
That's a great question, and it gets to the core of the matter. I'm very lucky to work in an administration that believes in investing in these areas. And so just a couple weeks ago, the White House announced that we have 100,000 new units of the housing supply that we're looking to take on, and HUD plays a significant role there. A piece of that is working with the Department of Treasury on some tools that were in place in the Obama administration, kind of went away, and we're picking those tools back up and making sure that we're moving forward. Another is that we're looking at some of our what we call HUD-held homes, and trying to prioritize that those homes are moving to people who will choose to live there, and also to nonprofits who are mission-driven to make sure we're getting to some of the families and individuals you're talking about. And of course, we are all very hopeful that we will see more resources in the Build Back Better, the President's Build Back Better agenda, and the hard work that I know you all are working on up here.
I mean, there's such an enormous part of that on my committee, Ways and Means, that went to equity and inclusion, and making sure that that Build Back Better includes the tools that minority communities and others need so that they can have a fighting chance. We know from the GI Bill how that really grew the middle class by affording those veterans home ownership, right? And in many communities, that was not available to African American veterans, and that caused a huge stagnation. So the fact that you guys are doing that is really so critical, and this is the time to get it done. I know that, I can recall DC having a credit program for individuals who were teachers and nurses, police officers, that they had identified homes, that you all had identified homes. If you move into these communities, we're going to give you down payment. We're going to give you equity if you remain there. Are those kinds of things that you're talking about?
I think those programs exist. And, I will say Secretary Fudge is very strong on this point. She wants to make sure that Black and brown people have access to wealth creation through home ownership. And we're looking at the barriers that have been created over the past generations, really. We're looking at, the role that appraisal bias has played in terms of families, really accumulating wealth. We know that when in a white neighborhood, those homes are appraised at 25% higher than homes that are in Black neighborhoods, and we want to correct that. And we also are working on ways that some of the barriers that are particularly acute in in the Black population, Black students, like student debt. We're trying to be really creative about making sure that folks who have student debt are able to access our mortgage insurance tools. And so this is a big part of our agenda, and I want to say that will be a big part of this Secretary's legacy.
I am all for it because I have college graduates who need to buy homes and get married, young men, my sons.
They're not going to see this, right? Are they going to watch it?
No, okay. They get enough of listening.
There you go.
So you recently were home in the Virgin Islands to tour and speak with the community about housing. So now reflecting, you've got a couple of days back, reflecting on your visit to the Virgin Islands, what are some areas of concern that you have? And then what are the areas of opportunity that you think that are unique for us?
I would say that I saw a lot of the opportunity. I was able to tour some of the new housing that's come online out near Megan's,
Yes.
and I was able to look at some of the new housing that's probably a year away at the Dunu redevelopment site. So there's a lot of opportunities headed that way. You know, we want to make sure that our dollars, our disaster recovery dollars, are being used at their highest potential, and that's the conversation I was able to have with the governor and with his team. And we both talked about things that we knew are areas of concern, making sure that there's enough capacity down in the islands to deploy the funds. And, you know, and one of the things that they're hopeful for is that, you know, I understand some of the unique
Right.
situations about building down there. You know, every home isn't like each other. You know, here in the States, you know, you will find communities where the homes are exact replicas of each other. That's not the way it is at home. You know, we have a supply issue getting supplies to the island. We have a labor issue. So we talked a lot about that and ways in which HUD could be more collaborative in trying to recognize some of those differences and just get more money spent and get more homes repaired.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. So we're going to move away from housing and just get in your business.
Okay.
Not really. Not really. You know, I wanted to ask you, you are such a figure now, and I'm so glad that our daughters and our sons can see the possibilities of what is out there for us, you know? It's not just being a governor. It's not just being a senator. It's not just being a delegate to Congress. It's being a policymaker and a policy doer, someone who implements legislation and you're doing it across the country for billions, hundreds of billions of dollars. And you started in the Virgin Islands, right? That is your home. But I wanted to ask you, you are an influencer to young people and to people moving up in careers and giving them ideas of this is what I can do. Who was influential to you?
Oh, wow. Wow, that's a great question. Of course, my mom. You know, it's always about education. You know, our parents do that.
Yes,
right.
Right. At all costs.
At all costs, whether or not you want it or not.
Including you. A cost to you.
That's right. That's right. You know, and I have to say that working with Ron was really inspirational. You know, he was such a go-getter. You know, he was so iconic in his leadership that was really powerful. What a huge and just think of the skill sets, right? From a radio show to the tenure he had here, and just commanding respect. You know, so
Did he still whistle in the hallways? Did you hear him?
I can't confirm nor deny that there was whistling in the hallways.
I love to hear him.
Yeah.
And when he would come into the room.
That's right. It would just fill the space.
Yeah.
Just fill the space, you know. So that, and you know, and when we were interning, and even after I'd interned, just seeing how interested he and his team was. I don't know if you remember with Lorraine in nurturing, you know, the next generation like we. So that meant a lot. I will say that, you know, St. Thomas is so small that really there are so many people along the way that become influential. So walking home from Catholic school down Main Street to go home, there's like, you know, sometimes it's the storekeepers who are just saying, how are you doing today? You know, and making sure you're okay. You know, I think that in addition to that, there was you know, Sheila Ross played a great role as well in that. And so many folks who were here on the Hill who were influencers.
Sheila was something else.
Yeah, I will say Carol Thompson Cole is somebody I don't mention often, but she went to my alma mater and was a city administrator here in D.C. A really strong, wonderful black woman who really was one of the first uber professional women I saw that I said, you know, I want to be like that. You know, just carried power with grace. You know, and she was the model of that for me, and still is, and still is. So, you know, just, you know how it is, you know, surrounded yourself with good people, and they influence you, but also it's, you know, you got to get the work in.
Okay.
Right? It's not just about the people around you. You have to be willing to do the work, and some good luck comes.
So now, when you go home, what are 3 things that you feel you have to do or to make it a good visit?
So I have to get a pate, usually on the way home from the airport.
As soon as you get
As
off?
soon as you know, you
And
know.
what kind of pate do you like?
Well, so usually I always want to get beef, but sometimes, beef is the first to run out. So then I'll go to sawfish, only because you can't really get sawfish here in the States. So there's that. I got to go to Megan.
You know, I bring sawfish. I go to local grocery stores and bring sawfish along with bluefish and whatever
right.
back up to DC, because while I could get sawfish in New York, you
It's
can't
different.
get it in DC,
Yeah,
really.
you really can't. You really can't. So a little bit of pate. In fact, when I was down there with the HUD team, I insisted that we stop and get some pates, and they're all like, "Well, what is this?" I said, "Trust me, you'll eat it." It was very quiet in the car. Let me just say, Megan's Bay. You know, you got to go to
gotta go
Megan's.
get a dip.
You got to get the dip in, and then visiting family.
Okay.
Of course, you got to get that in too, because if you miss out anybody, you'll be in trouble, right? You'll be in trouble. I hope when I'm back down there to get to St. Croix. I wasn't
Yes.
able to do that on this trip. So
That will be good.
Yes.
That'll be good. And the same issues.
Yes.
So many projects. Of course, people are really concerned about just finishing up the repairs
Right.
for the homes.
That's right.
Thank God. God has been so merciful that we have not had a major storm since 2017.
I know.
So hopefully in this time, you visiting as Secretary Fudge and others, collaborating with the governor,
Right.
his team,
And
the
you
Office
too.
of
I
Disaster
mean,
Recovery.
you know.
We try and do what we can.
Yes, yeah, you
to
do a lot.
Make sure it gets done.
Yes,
So thank you for that.
absolutely.
Any closing words you have for the people back home?
Keep hope, be strong, but also in being strong, also know when you need help, right? Sometimes we are so resilient that we sometimes forget that we need help.
Yeah.
And there's no shame in asking for a little bit of help and just being quiet and being with yourself. And sometimes I feel like when we go through things like the storm, we don't take care of ourselves. You just keep going. You're dealing with the insurance company. You're doing. I just think it's important for folks at home to know that there are people out there who care and want to help. And it's okay when that help comes to accept it.
Thank you. Thank you. We will take all the help
There you go.
we can get. So finally this year, we will continue the tradition of ending the Washington Report with some words from Stacy. This week, I sent a letter with Chairwoman Carolyn Maloney of the House Oversight and Reform Committee and other colleagues on the committee to the Postmaster General of the United States Postal Service, USPS, to request his attention to the substantial inequities of service occurring in the District of the U.S. Virgin Islands. As a remote location in the United States, the Virgin Islands is highly dependent on USPS, and the service currently provided is far below the standard service elsewhere in the United States. The inadequacies fall, in my opinion, into 2 categories: the lack of adequate personnel and delayed and damaged packages. My office has reached out to USPS management at the local and regional level multiple times to request that mail be flown directly to the Virgin Islands and sorted there. Our office has been told repeatedly that the Virgin Islands does not have enough mail volume to require its own or allow its own sorting machine. Yet in Puerto Rico, there is not enough personnel to sort the mail bound for both the U.S. territories, and it is mail bound to the Virgin Islands that is delayed and damaged as a result. Additionally, with the increase in bulk packages being shipped to the Virgin Islands through USPS, mail volume has, in my opinion, increased. The increase in volume should not inure solely to the benefit of USPS personnel in Puerto Rico. I'm thankful for the chairwoman of oversight of the full committee and the members of the committee lending their support and their names to these issues. Next, there are far too many cases of damaged packages delivered to the Virgin Islands. While some accidents are inevitable, there's an unusually high volume of parcels arriving in the Virgin Islands with water damage, boxes forcibly opened and then hastily retaped, accusations of theft, as well as evidence of footprints left on packages, suggesting they had been kicked on or stepped on. Furthermore, due to the unusually high volume of mail coming into Puerto Rico, some USPS locations lack the space to store the backlog of mail and is often left outside, where it is inevitably damaged by the weather. My letter requests that the Postmaster General immediately investigate these matters thoroughly to provide the people of the Virgin Islands with solutions to these deeply concerning issues and USPS service that they need and deserve. My letter requests that the Postmaster General reconsider having mail bound for the Virgin Islands sorted in Miami, Florida, and delivered directly to the Virgin Islands. It is the duty of the Postal Service to provide adequate service to the citizens of the United States, including Americans in locations outside the contiguous United States, such as the Virgin Islands. I'm asking you, Virgin Islanders, if you have these issues, to please contact our office on St. Croix, St. Thomas, or DC, or to send the information to ask.stacy@mail.house.gov so that we can have further evidence of this to provide to them on what needs to be done. So, with that, thank you again to Deputy Secretary Todman, and to all of you out there, stay VI strong and have a great day. Thank you.